All right, time management and productivity. How do we get more out of our time, out of our days, out of our weeks, ultimately out of our years, right? How do we become most efficient and productive?
There's a lot.
We're going to break that all down today, right? And at the end, we're going to tell you how to add in to this whole schedule, this whole routine, the way to actually give yourself breaks for vacations too, right? Like, because you got to get refreshed. We're going to talk about that routine and that kind of ritual that we've developed over the last couple of years as well. So let's jump right into it. What is the single most important thing for productivity and efficiency, in our opinion?
The ideal weekly schedule.
IWS, as Mark Gellman calls it, right?
Absolutely.
Yep. What's that mean?
It means that you have to have your plan of attack for the entire week incredibly intentional. It has to be built into your calendar. We use Google Calendar. It has to be built into your calendar. It has to have time blocks for every different thing in your life with intention. And then it has to be honored.
Right. And so this changes, or does this change or stay the same?
Oh, it totally changes. Yeah.
Okay.
Depending on the season, depending on time of year, depending on your business, depending on what your focuses are, well, where your focus is at. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
But the kind of like the goal and the purpose of the ideal weekly schedule is that you identify that in this season, like at this chapter of my life, like for the next few weeks, next couple months, I want to make sure that I've got certain consistency to habits and actions I'm going to take, right? And that's where you build this out in your calendar. Right. You use reoccurring events and you make sure that there's some consistency to that, right? So it's 100%. Going to change as the seasons of life change, as your business evolves and things like that. Like I think we change ours every couple of months. Yeah. But the idea is to, hey, let's make these weeks look pretty much the same, identifying the most important things that we need to do each and every week, right?
Yes. I mean, I think that, it's called an ideal weekly schedule because it's important to assess it each week. Like, yes, we want the whole week, and it's not just Monday through Friday. It's like, what are we doing with our Saturdays and Sundays in order to prepare us for the coming week too, right? Like we have things in place every single week that allow us the time and space to do what we need to do during the week time, which include rest and recovery and preparation. Those are all very important parts of your ideal weekly schedule. Right? Yeah. But being able to look at it and assess it, like, does it make sense for this week? Because you're going to have things that are different in your schedule come up, events, birthdays, family events, holidays, obviously. So how are you adjusting your week in order to intentionally fill in the rest of it to make sure that everything's getting done that you need to get done?
Yeah. So if we're going to tell people like, hey, here's kind of the roadmap to create your ideal weekly schedule, what's step one for them?
Besides just looking at the schedule. I mean,
well, how do you create this? Like, if I'm like, hey man, I don't even know where to start. Like, what should I be doing every week? What should these weeks look like? Like, how do I take a step back and just say, hey, I need to build my ideal weekly schedule. I don't even know where to start.
I love to look at it from the perspective of putting your big rocks in place and then filling it in with the pebbles and the sand and the water, right? If you know that analogy. So, in order to get the big things done, so big things in your life are going to be basically wrapped around your body, your being, your balance, and your business, right? You need to make sure that you've got revenue generating activities on there. You need to make sure that you've got you time, taking care of you physically, what you're eating, all those things built in. You're going to want to make sure that you've got your marriage, right? Like our intentional date night on there every single week. And then of course your balance, like your kids and your personal time. What is my you time? What is the time that I can reflect and do my stacking and those kinds of things? So those are the things that need to go on in your calendar first. Like, when is the time that I'm going to be intentional with intentionally making my phone calls, their power hours, your revenue generating activities? When am I going to the gym? When is date night? When am I going to see the kids and have an intentional time with them? And then when am I going to rest and recover in order to prepare for the next week? So start there. Start with the big rocks. Then we can start filling in, okay, now I need to make sure that I'm preparing for the meetings that I have, right? These meetings are going to be rocks in my schedule with these particular people. When do I prepare for those? Do I have my one-on-ones for proximity with my teammates? Do I have my accountability sessions with my teammates? Do I have, when am I putting my meals together? What does my nightly routine look like? Like, you start kind of filling it in with all the other things in order to help make those rocks as successful as possible.
So we talk to a lot of real estate agents, and if agents are listening to this, like what would be an example of some of those rocks?
The big rocks?
Yeah.
So power hours or call times, right? Or any sort of real estate conversation, or time. Like, that's, for us, it's power hours. It's call sessions. It's calling through the database. It's, we've always called it power hours. That hands down was the thing that continued to create business for us and that we still honor in order to keep business going. Like you honor 1 to 2 hours every single day, and that's a rock in your schedule. You will have consistent business year in and year out.
Yeah. Anything else that you should be thinking about, like when they're looking at their schedules? I know we're going to touch on a few other details here in a couple minutes, but just like maybe like common things that agents miss on their ideal weekly schedule.
I think a lot of agents will typically prioritize lunches and networking events over like things in their business. And I don't necessarily think that you should do that. I think that that's a misstep. I think that a lunch out with a colleague or a networking event shouldn't take precedence over connecting with clients or prospecting for new clients.
Yeah, or building your business too.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. So to me, like ideal weekly schedule, it's really about the intentional allocation of my time and my activity, right? And if we don't do that, the other option is just to kind of unintentionally float through my week.
Well, exactly.
Right? Like,
you will end up being very reactive all week.
Kind of just happening to me instead of me happening to it.
Now you're checking your email and responding to all these things as opposed to intentionally sending out emails and then taking the time to respond to the things you need to keep things going.
Yep.
It's answering questions or prioritizing sitting inspections or prioritizing having conversations that aren't as productive for your business. Like it's a very reactive state to be when being having proactive activities within your IWS is going to be what keeps your business moving forward.
Awesome. Okay. So ideal weekly schedule is probably the biggest productivity hack that we can give people. We just gave it to you right out of the gates. Let's talk about morning rituals and the gym. This is a really big thing for us. It's something you and I are both passionate about. We continue, kind of like the weekly schedule, we continue to retool and reevaluate what's working, what's not working in this domain.
Yep.
But why is the morning ritual and routine so important to productivity?
Well, it's funny because I like to say that morning me is just the doer, right? Morning me does if morning me is left up to her own devices, she's not going to get shit done. Like it's night me who sets morning me up for success, but morning me just has to execute. So, making sure that you have a set get up time, exactly where things are at. My meals are set. My coffee is going to be ready. I know exactly where my lemon water is before I touch anything else. I have a routine in the morning every single day. The dogs even know exactly which order I'm going to let them out, let them back in and feed them. So, having consistency in a morning schedule is so incredibly important, and then freaking honoring it, right? So if I actually prep the night before and I have my meals ready and my shakes ready and my coffee is prepped, my pre-workout's ready, and all morning me has to do is get up at the time that I committed to getting up and execute all the things, it's going to go way more smoothly. And then that sets me up for the day, right? Like I've already woken up and done a couple of hard things, especially the days I don't feel like getting up, but you've already stacked some wins, right? And it's that simple. Like it's getting up, doing the things, and you've already stacked wins. So that's just going to continue to snowball into more and more wins throughout the day.
Right. We've got our Warrior app that people are going to have access to here very soon, or maybe even will be launched by the time this is released. I like to do a lot of those just core 4 activities just to gain my power for the day. You know what I mean? So I like to do a little bit of the meditation in there. I like to do a stack in the morning if I can, like often a prayer stack or something like that, just to really center where I'm at for the day and just kind of get my emotions down on paper. I think it's really, really helpful. I like to do the appreciation texts. That's a big thing too, sharing with 2 people just what they mean to you with specificity. As you're messaging them and reaching out to them. I don't read in the mornings like some people do, but I can see the benefit of doing that.
For sure.
But getting in the gym is kind of like the next thing for me. I mean? Like getting out there and moving my ass, getting a sweat on, and really working through just some time in the gym.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I think, again, a lot of real estate agents will be like, oh, well, I'll go later because I don't have any meetings. And it's like that exact trap. Depending on the time of year, that is exactly why your business will continue to suffer. If you do not prioritize getting up before and then making your way into the office to get productive early on, in my opinion, if you go, well, I don't have any meetings, so I'll go to the gym later, and then you sleep in. Like, not only are you not following through with what you said you wanted to do inside, right? Which is building your own confidence every time you do that. But now you've pushed off any potential chance of moving your business forward. Like now you're pushing yourself into a reactive state again, as opposed to getting into the office and doing some things. Like there are going to be days that we get into the office early and we have to be productive before meetings start. And then we have meetings all day long and it's a very long day. And then there are other days that we still honor the morning routine and we have a couple of things to get done in the office, but then we're done by 1. And now we can go work on the balance part of our life and go spend time together or with our kids. So honoring that same time and that same schedule and not not pushing it back, I think is so important. It's something that a lot of real estate agents fall into often.
But getting your ass out of bed is so hard. Right?
It is so hard. Yeah. Especially this time of year when the sun doesn't even come up to like 7 or 8. And you're like, I want to stay in bed. It's still nighttime.
I'm joking, but I'm serious at the same time, because I do get a lot of people message me and they're like, hey, how do you get up so early? Like, how do you find the motivation to do this? So like, what have you found to be like a productivity hack for that? Like, how do you get past that?
The thing is, like, you have to like be intentional. Like if your schedule has intentionality behind it, if your ideal weekly schedule is set up so that you have projects you're working towards or initiatives you're working towards in your business or things that you want to get accomplished, then there's going to be passion behind every single day, right? There's passion in that intention, and motivation is rarely what gets us out of bed, right? It's not motivation. It's the passion behind what we actually want to get done that day. So making sure that you are intentional with the schedule, that the what you're working on is what you're passionate about, then motivation is not going to show up automatically. It's the passion and the discipline to go do what you are passionate about during that day that's going to get you out of bed.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. When you feel fired up to go do what you're going to do that day, that's what gets you out of bed and away from 100%. Just the warm, cozy environment.
100%, exactly. Yeah, which is tough.
And I think motivation is a dangerous word too, you know, because motivation is really a feeling and it kind of comes and it goes, right? Yeah. So it's really all about that level of commitment. Like, hey, do I know what I'm going to do when I get up early? So I'm actually doing something productive with that time. I'm not just getting up to get up and go lay with the dogs.
Yeah.
But I'm actually getting up to do X, Y, Z and understand that before I go to bed.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Do I have clarity on exactly what I'm doing every
Exactly right. Yeah. So in regards to like morning schedule, so I think you are really, really good at this boundary, but what is something that you absolutely do not do with your morning schedule on the business side of things?
Yeah. So when I'm in the office, I don't meet with clients in the mornings at all. I never have actually, like my entire real estate career. And the reason I don't do that is because it interrupts the consistency in my morning, right? Yeah. Those power hour times that are really important, all those things I need to do in the morning to set up for a successful afternoon, that is all interrupted when I accept a client's meeting, right? And some clients, you know, they're like, hey, I want to meet with you at like 10 o'clock on Monday. Like, I don't have that time available, right? Yeah. My first availability on Monday is at 4 o'clock, right? And if you want that time, I'm all about it. But if not, that's not going to work, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of agents that are like newer, they're like scared to do this because like, oh my God, I don't want to lose this business. And you're not going to lose that business if you just explain to them that that's your first availability you have. You don't say, hey, and I've never said this, like I don't meet with people in the mornings. That's not what I say. I just say, hey, my first availability is X time. Well, and that's where people go to, right?
That's exactly right. You have to understand in this business that everything that you do personally and professionally, as long as it is moving your business or body or balance or being forward, that's an appointment. So honor it like an appointment. Our date is an appointment.
Yeah.
My time with one of our kids that I've scheduled on the calendar is an appointment. So if I always prioritize meeting a client over everything else, you're never going to have any sort of harmony in your life at all. It is about saying, yes, I would love to meet with you. These are the 2 times I have available on Mondays, right?
Yeah. When I look at agents that have roller coaster income, meaning they have one really good month and they have a very terrible month, good month, terrible month, like it starts to become kind of predictably unpredictable. It's almost always this issue where they are not structured and disciplined to keep their morning routine the exact same.
Exactly.
Right? They start going out and showing people houses in the mornings. They start doing consultations in the mornings. And pretty soon they haven't made any phone calls for that week, right? Exactly. They haven't connected with anyone to fill up the pipeline for the following week or the following month. They're just basically fulfilling the current sales they have.
Exactly.
Right? And as an agent, you got 2 jobs. You've got to fill up the bucket of more appointments, right? That are going to be your wins and your closings 3 to 6 months from now. You need to fulfill your current sales as well. You can't just do one or the other. You got to do both.
Exactly. So on that note, when it comes to like activities throughout your week, right? Because we have, especially if you are a team leader or if you're somebody who's a single agent or you're working on building your business, you have working in the business, right? Client meetings, conversions, power hours, and then you have on the business activities, which is marketing, organization of database, organization of systems. How do you maintain like a cohesive schedule throughout the week, working on all these different things?
There's 2 things I do. The first thing I do is I really save the middle of the day to work on the business, right? Like that's the time to build systems, processes, hiring, like all of those types of meetings and appointments or things that you need to do and build. And then the other thing would be just to batch like-minded activities. So like, for instance, we're not shooting 1 podcast right now, we're shooting 2, right? Yep. So we're bringing common things together. And I think that can be really helpful. Like instead of reaching out to 2 past clients a day, why don't you just reach out to like 40 past clients in 1 hour block, right? Do it once and be done with it. So like instead of having all these like tiny little repeating activities, just condense them into one block and knock out that same thing. Because what I know to be true is that it takes your mind about 15 to 30 minutes to transfer into what you're doing before you're actually focused on it.
Right.
So if you're changing your focus every half an hour, you're never actually finding true focus on that one thing.
Exactly. And you can't really go deep on that activity.
Right.
Time,
yeah.
Exactly.
So you can batch your content, you know, if you're doing like video and reels and things like that, you can batch meetings within your organization. Like we batch all of our meetings on Tuesdays, for instance. You can batch trainings. You can batch client meetings. Like I only meet with clients on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday afternoons, and then every other Saturday. Like I'm batching my clients' appointments. So I think it really helps turbocharge your efficiency, but also your focus.
100% agreed. So in regards to client meetings, like obviously you're going to have, like you mentioned, clients who say, oh, can we meet at this time? Can we meet at this time? How do you schedule them into your weeks so that you can fulfill them and serve them as we like to, but also maintain a schedule that's healthy?
So for me, what I do, like I've got 3 appointment slots on each afternoon, right? And it basically starts at 2 p.m. is my first slot, and then 4 p.m. is the next slot, and then 6 p.m. or somewhere around there is my last slot. That's the last time I'll meet with people for those that get off work a little bit later. And then I'll do that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Thursday, Friday for me are like building days, right? These are things where we're getting like massive things done. We're building lots of big stuff. But we also have other businesses too. You know, it's not just real estate for us. If I was just a real estate agent, I'd probably do that same thing 5 days a week.
100%.
You know, or at least
we
4
did
days
that
a week.
for years.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that there's a couple agents in our team, Dale and Jen, who have done a really good job of taking Thursdays off. Like that's their out of office day, because we know that real estate happens on nights and weekends. And I think that's a really good routine to get into as well. You know, as long as you can be disciplined and structured with your Saturdays.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's the people who are like, oh, I need to take one day off a week because I mean, it's a great time to run errands and stuff. But then if you're also like, but I also need Sundays or I also need Saturday, like you have to understand that this life is a trade-off. This isn't like a Monday through Friday mentality. This is a Sunday through Saturday mentality. We just do different things on the different days.
Right. And you know, there's always somebody you're going to have to talk to 7 days a week. Even at the level that I'm at, where I'm selling like $40 million a year in personal production, I'm still on the phone on Sundays talking to people. Like that's just the nature of the job.
Exactly.
That's what I signed up for. That's subscribing to the lifestyle of it. And that's just the commitment we've all made. And that's cool. You know, like that's fine. I'm happy to be at home on Sunday with my kids and taking a call here and there to make sure that our clients get what they need.
Exactly. Yeah. So on that note, with weekends, like how do real estate agents build in that balance into their schedule where they can actually enjoy a Sunday with their family?
I think it scales up as you develop more success. Like what we do is not what I would say that new agents should do. And it's not what we did when we were new agents either. Like for the first 3 years, I worked every single Saturday, but I would religiously take off Sundays. Like every now and then I'd go show a client at home because I didn't have a showing partner yet. I haven't done that for probably the last 5 years. But Sundays, I think, are a really good day to just declare off. Right? Like, hey, that's going to be my family day. If you took off like Sundays and Thursdays, like some of our agents do, I think it's a really great schedule. Allows you to really maintain some balance. And then I think you can take every other Saturday off once you're where you want to be at in sales.
Yeah. That's what I was
Not when you're in growing mode, but when you're at to where you want to be, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think, you know, there's a lot of agents that get into real estate for the flexible schedule and for the ability to, you know, control my schedule and have the free time that I want. And number one, yes, of course, that's one of the reasons we get into this industry. But the other thing is, if in the beginning, when you're building and you're like, I want to build a big business and I want to do a lot of business, it's not going to feel like balance at all. You're going to be completely out of whack. You're going to be completely out of balance. And that has to be okay for that season. And if you are absolutely like, no, hell or high water, I'm only working 5 days a week, you have to understand that you are going to cap. You are going to cap in your business. Yeah. And it's not going to get as big as you want. Whereas if you say, I'm willing to do whatever it takes for the season until I am where I want to be, then guess what? When you get where you want to be, you can do whatever you want with your schedule. And it truly will maintain, so long as you have the discipline to have a good IWS.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, balance is like the feel-good word of the last like 5 years.
Right.
Like, you know, our society has come to be like, hey, I want balance. It's the most important thing to me. I don't care if I make less money. How do you get balance in real estate? And is that really what we're after even, you know?
It depends on who you are.
To me, it's kind of like a feel-good word that lacks substance and context. Like balance is earned.
Exactly.
That shit is not given.
That's exactly right. I mean, and that's our culture, right? Our team's culture is very much everything is earned. Nothing is given. But to achieve a level of balance, like I don't even think that it is what people think it is, right? I think that people want to feel like they have some sort of resemblance of control over a quality of life at home and a quality of business, right? Like an income or a revenue generation. And what balance actually feels like is more like harmony. Like you have an integrated life where, there's going to be times that you're able to completely walk away from your phone and have good NPT, no phone time in the evenings or on a Sunday. There's going to be other times that you're picking up the phone because you've got a deal you have to get done in the middle of date night. So there's going to be disruption and there's going to be inconvenience, but that trade-off is also going to be a level of freedom in different times as well.
Yeah. Who said that line a couple of years ago back at Rise?
Kofi. Yeah.
The work-life harmony was kind of like the start, and work-life integration was the advanced. And I love that because work-life integration is really what I'm after.
Yeah.
I love those days where I can go to the gym in the morning, then I can go work for a little bit, then I can go do something with my kids, then I can go on a date night with you, then I can hop on, negotiate a contract. Like that's integrating all of the stuff together in a beautiful way. And that's, I think, the place that you want to try to get to. At least that's where I want to get to.
It's a productive day.
I don't like the buzzword of balance. I think it's become this bullshit feel-good term. And I think that people are being lied to when that is their goal and they start, right? Look, if that's your goal when you get into real estate, you're fucking going to lose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, most people
and I know this is unpopular to say it, but I'm passionate about this because that is just lying to you, right? Yeah. The truth is found in massively hard work sacrifices, right?
Exactly.
That's the only way you actually get there eventually.
Exactly.
You have to become completely imbalanced to become balanced later.
That's exactly right. And it's longer than you think, right? I mean, before even real estate, obviously we were out of balance, but in the first 2, 3, 4 years, probably 4 or 5 years of really being in real estate, there was not any balance. We were completely out of balance, but we knew that, hey, if we sacrifice a couple of years, right, and work 7 days a week, or we hadn't built in all these beautiful boundaries with our schedule that we have now. We prioritized our rocks. We prioritized working out. We always have done that. We prioritize time with our kids. We prioritize time together. We prioritize trips, which we'll get to in a second. But everything else was like go time. And it's only been in the last couple of years that we've been able to say, hey, we're going to put this boundary in place and we're going to only, honor these appointment time blocks. Like we're only going to see clients this many times a week, whatever that is. That's all earned.
That was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of home sales later then,
exactly.
Right? And to be honest with you, at the time, I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. I love that it was so imbalanced. I felt like a man on a fucking mission. Like there's no other place that I want to be but in the office building something big and special. And the only way to do that was to roll up the sleeves and do some hard ass work, which is not sexy.
No,
right?
None of it is. No.
So you talked about traveling, you talked about breaks. Let's talk about that a little bit. Because I think that this mindset gives people, it helps them kind of address that short-term sacrifice they're going to give on time and energy, knowing they've got something to kind of look forward to.
Well, and how do you maintain that passion, right? When there's no motivation, because half of the time in our lives, there is not the motivation to go to the gym. There's not the motivation to call people. There's not the motivation to follow up with people, but there's passion to do so, right? And that passion, how do you maintain that level of passion in business and in life consistently?
Yeah.
How do we do that?
90-day rule.
That's right.
Something we introduced, we started this like 12 years ago, but we've really ramped it up in the last 5-6 years. So the 90-day rule, for those that don't know, we share this a lot, but it's something we absolutely love and has worked so well for us. We basically break our year down into 4 blocks. And at the end of each quarter, you go away for a week. So you're going to take 4 weeks off total in the year. That allows you to go on 4 short sprints, which means you're going to go way fucking harder when you're here.
Exactly.
If you just put your head down and you have no end in sight, you don't know where the finish line is at, you can't run as fast or as hard.
You're exhausted.
Because you're trying to pace yourself. You're like, I don't know when this shit's going to end.
Yes.
Right? I'm running a marathon, but I don't know where the finish line is at.
I don't know if it's actually 26 miles.
Yeah, it could be 200 miles. Right?
Yes.
I have to find the finish line. So defining that finish line is why the 90-day rule is so successful. Hey, I'm going to push super hard for the next 90 days, but I know at the end of that 90 days, I'm taking my kids, my wife, we're going to Mexico, we're going to Europe, whatever we're going to go do. And I'm going to get to unplug, be super present, and just enjoy and live life.
Exactly. Well, and that's why in our team, we call out our key people out on this as well and say okay, what are signs of burnout, right? Okay. Lack of motivation, unwillingness to talk to people, not really wanting to do anything, right? Not really wanting to be productive. Maybe even falling behind in normal habits that you typically see them. Those are signs of burnout. And when you have burnout, the first thing that we look at is, okay, when are you going away next? Like, when do you get a break? Even if it's a long weekend, when is your next break? And we've had to call our teammates out and say, like, get something on the calendar. Because the second you have a break scheduled and you know exactly when that finish line is, I can push for 3 more weeks. I can push for 6 more weeks. Like, you have the motivation or the passion to actually push through because you know there's a break.
Yeah, what I found is like around 7-8 weeks into the quarter, you start to really feel like, oof, man, I'm starting to get a little bit fried here. But then you're like, all right, I got 3.5, 4 more weeks to go. I can get there. And now you push into overdrive, you get through it, you get some more deals on the board, and then you feel like you've really earned that vacation. Like there's nothing worse than going on a trip that you don't feel like you've earned being there, right? Because your mind's not going to be present. You're like, you're still going to be back at the office.
I should have been.
Yeah,
I could have been.
Yeah, but I didn't, right? So you're going to feel so much better sitting in that chair at the beach with your drink, knowing that you fucking earned that shit.
100%.
Right?
Well, and that's a huge part of time management, right? Is like building in the earned rewards right into your business. Like you said, if you know when that's going to be, you know you can push, you know you can earn it. You've got that deadline. So
right. And then what if a week's not enough?
Yeah.
Because it hasn't been for us for a few years.
Yeah. So, I mean, it does get to the point when, we have such a work-life integration that it's a 7-day-a-week thing. Like we're 7 days a week. We are on. We very rarely don't have a phone and somebody access to us and coaching somebody or communicating with a client or doing something. And we love it that way. But you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm barely recovered by day 6. I'm going to need 2 weeks, right? So we started, I think, with 2 of those 90-day rules, 2 of those 90-day trips being 2 weeks long a couple of years ago. And that was really helpful for us because it's like, okay, by the end of the first week, you're like, I can actually relax. And the second week, you're actually recovering and enjoying yourself and being out of the norm. Then by the end of those 2 weeks, you are ready to get back to your schedule. You're ready to get back to work.
Yeah, you're kind of craving it once you get there. But to get there, to do 2 weeks off, you really need to have some great leverage, right? Like, because your business is just going to come to a screeching halt if you don't have people out showing houses, setting more appointments, moving your escrows into closings, all those types of things. So I want to back up just a little bit because we kind of missed this. We were talking about how hard it is to get up early in the mornings for a lot of people. I think we should talk about evening routine because you said that like morning you is on autopilot because of what you did the evening before. I think you should unpack that for people because this might actually be the ticket to getting up early. And in fact, I think it is. Yeah,
I mean, it is for me. I think I made this realization within the last 18 months, right? Like obviously we've gotten into the bodybuilding space. So we are militant about our food, militant about our workouts, militant about our cardio sessions. So in order for morning Rachel to actually be effective and actually follow through with the things that she has committed to do, night Rachel has to set her up for success. So night Rachel has to put together the meals for the next day. Night Rachel has to prep all the shakes that morning Rachel's going to need. She has to pack her gym bag. She has to set up the clothes that she's going to wear to work that day, just to make sure her toiletries and her hair stuff is all in the gym bag, ready to go. And by doing that, I mean, it takes 20, 25 minutes, sometimes half an hour, depending on how that all is. But by taking that time at nighttime to be able to do that, not only can I then go to sleep, not feeling the stress of like all the things that I need to remember to do in the morning because it's already done, but I can also be assured that no matter how I feel, like, excuse me, fuck your feelings, follow the plan, right? Like your feelings are always going to err on the side of laziness. I'm always going to err on the side of I'm going to stay in this bed because it's really comfy and cozy and it's cold out there, right? I don't always feel like getting up. But if I know that everything's already done, if I'm thinking in my head, especially in our world, a workout day's food is way different than a non-workout day's food. So if I've already packed all of my 5 meals that I'm going to bring to the office because I have a workout to get done in the morning Rachel, sure as shit, will get up and go do that workout because night Rachel has set her up for success.
Right. Yeah. To me, it's the removal of any tasks that must be done in the morning, right?
Exactly.
Anything that's tasky, like meal prep, packing your gym bag, getting your laptop ready to go, anything like that has to be done the night before if you're going to get up early to make that morning just as easy as possible. Now you're just doing like you were saying.
Exactly.
You know?
I can get up mindlessly almost and just execute.
It reminds me of the saying my dad drilled into me as a kid: prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Michael.
I like it.
Yes, Dad. Okay. Got it. Pounded into me.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else that we want to share with people? Any other productivity hacks that we left out? I mean, if people do like even half these things, their productivity and their efficiency is going to go through the freaking roof.
100%. I think the one other big thing that I have, I utilize, obviously our Warrior app has like a task list built into it. And so every single night, for whatever reason, Night Rachel is like the most creative and like she remembers all the things and has great ideas and all this stuff. So Night Rachel, when I go to bed, we meditate, I'm laying there. A lot of times I'll have stuff flying through my brain. Like I'll think of this excellent quote, or I'll have this excellent thought that I wanted to share on social media, this excellent thing that I wanted to make a point in this PowerPoint for the next sales meeting or whatever it is. And if I do not have the discipline to grab my phone and put that in a note or put that in my task list in my Warrior app or whatever it is, if I do not put it in there, it'll disappear. It will go away. So having the discipline at night to take all the things that come to your brain and do a brain dump into a task list, into a to-do list, into your hit list, whatever it is, that is going to massively help your morning self. I've gotten to the point where I'll even, if I have something come to me, I actually put it in there and schedule for the post for the next morning. So a lot of times I get up and I've posted at 4:30 in the morning and I've just got out of bed, right? So being able to basically take all those thoughts, all those things swimming in your head, all those tasks that you need to get done that you maybe didn't think about when you were doing the night routine, put those into your hit list, put those into a to-do list for the next day. Then you'll wake up, not only will you be able to sleep better because all that stuff is not swimming around in your brain, but you'll be able to wake up the next morning and be like, oh yeah, that was a great idea. Like I'm going to take that and be able to put that in the sales meeting. So I think doing that nightly brain dump is absolutely key.
Yeah, that's one of Craig Valentine's.
It is, yeah.
So I was actually going to give a shout out to Craig Valentine because he really wrote a couple of impactful books. Because for us, we've distilled from lots of mentors, coaches, and books. Like, how does this all come together? And this is what we do, and this is how we've created. But Craig Valentine coached us for a while, and Craig wrote a book called The Perfect Day Formula, which is like a really, really good, easy read. It used to be required reading on our team just because it really simplifies how to make a productive morning, right? And how to get the most out of your day. Yeah.
And we still live by those principles, the pillars and the characteristics of the brain dump was from him as well.
Yeah, it's very simple, right? The other thing I just want to kind of mention, and this is one of the things to really watch out for, is people stop fucking multitasking, right? This is literally the anti-productivity. Okay. I see people trying to do this all the time. I'll go up to somebody's computer and they've got YouTube open. They've got the MLS open. They've got their email open. They've got chat going on. They've got Facebook Messenger happening. Just do one thing. Okay. Here's the simple math. When you do two things, you're giving each one of those things half of your brain power. Exactly. I want 100% of my brain power in every single thing that I am doing. So pick one thing and focus on that one thing and then move on to the next thing. I beg of you to do this.
So good. So good. On that note, I think that's fantastic. Yeah.
All right. So if you want to get in touch with us or you want to check us out, go to meetthenovaks.com. Lots of information on there. You can learn more about coaching with us. You can learn about our real estate team, all sorts of awesome stuff. You can learn about Real as well. And then if you want to reach me on Instagram, I'm at The Real Mike Novak.
And I'm at Rachel Novak with the extra A.
Build the schedule out and we'll see you next week.
See you next time.